Last Shabbos, the Jewish people lost one of its true giants with the passing of Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks. He was truly one of the greatest Jews of our generation. We were privileged here at Beth Villa to have him twice as a guest speaker. And one time in introducing him, I said, there are many words that can be used to describe a guest speaker: eagerly awaited, controversial, well-known. And we have had guest speakers fitting those descriptive words. But we never had a speaker who I can say that in having him, we are honored. In my library at home, one cannot help but notice that I have more books written by Rabbi Sacks than any other author. The writings of Jonathan Sacks had a profound effect on my thinking and the thinking of countless others. He truly was able to capture the essence of what it means to be both modern and Orthodox. His memory will long be remembered throughout the Jewish world. Here in our synagogue, it will be remembered every time we open a prayer book or a high holiday machzor, all of which have his commentary. Truly, his memory will be for a blessing. And today we're going to remember him with a piece of Torah of his. But first, the question of the week. What do Donald Trump and Joe Biden have in common? There's been so much written about the difference between these two men and how totally different they are in most every way. But there is something that they have in common. You know what it is? Both of them are living proof of the wisdom of the words the late great senator from Illinois, Adlai Stevenson, who himself was a candidate for president, once said. He said, in America, anybody can become president. Look at Trump and Biden, and you'll see how true that is. Donald Trump, he had no military background. He had no political background. He had so many strikes against him in terms of his personal life. And he became president of the United States. And tens of millions of people voted for him. Joe Biden started off in life a stutterer, not an auspicious way to rise to be president of the United States. Did not go to any Ivy League schools. At the age of 30, a horrible car accident, he lost his wife and he lost his daughter, and he was left a single parent of two boys, one boy whom he lost later on in life to cancer. And then twice he ran for president and didn't get the nomination. And this time, the first three primaries he lost. And now he's president of the United States. But what does this go to prove? It proves that both of them learned the lesson from Sarah, our first matriarch. In this week's Torah portion, we're told of the death of Sarah. In describing the years of her life, it says she lived 100 years and 20 years and 7 years. This is the life of Sarah. This is the years of Sarah. And Rashi immediately asks, why did it have to say 100 years and 20 years and 7 years? Why didn't it just say she was 127 years old? And he responds, Kulan Shavin Latova. All of her years were equally good. And Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, in one of his writings, says all of her years were equally good. This woman faced one challenge after another. Her husband comes home one day and says, we're moving. And they move to a land that they knew nothing about. And as part of her journey, twice, she is forced into the harem of the king of the land. And then later on, she's unable to have children. And then Hagar comes into her life and upsets her. And then she hears that her son is being sacrificed on Mount Moriah. All of her years were an unbroken chain of goodness. And Jonathan Sacks says, yeah, because she made them good. He titles his explanation with the words, to have a why in your life. And he says that Abraham and Sarah were the first two people who had a purpose in life, who had a challenge in life, and didn't let anything stop them from striving to achieve it. And Jonathan Sacks tells a story from a book called The Choice. Its author was Edith Eger. She, with her father, mother, and sister, arrived in Auschwitz in May 1944. And on their way to Auschwitz, Edith's mother said to her, we don't know where we are going. We don't know what is going to happen, but nobody can take away from you what you put in your own mind. That was Sarah. That was Biden. And that was Trump. And that's a lot of people in life who don't allow themselves to become victims, blaming, being pessimistic, stuck in the past, unforgiving. People who have a why in their life. There's a famous story about the Hasidic master whose name was Zusha, and Zusha was lying on his deathbed and he was crying, and his student said to him, Rebbe, why are you so sad? Considering all the mitzvahs that you have performed, you'll surely get into heaven. And Zusha said, when I get to heaven, I know I'm not going to be asked why I wasn't like Moshe or why I wasn't like David HaMelech. But what makes me scared is that God will say, Zusha, why weren't you more like Zusha? And then what will I say? It's true. We may not all be able to be a Sarah or even a Biden or a Trump. But if we give ourselves a why in life, we can live up to our best potential. Shabbat Shalom.